What is going on, San Antonio? What is going on, all of South Texas? My name is Mike Jimenez, and this is the Alamo City Sportscast coming at you from San Antonio, Texas. It is a rainy day over here. It is Wednesday morning, but again, if you're listening to us in the future, thank you so much, because not only are we live on Facebook, we are live on Twitter, we are live on YouTube. Please subscribe to the Alamo City Network, if you will. And we have over 600 subscribers so far. We're having a fun time doing the show. Joe Garcia typically produces this show, but he is out this month because of a new job, and he's in training right now. So we'll get Joe back in at the beginning of the year. This is my last show of the week, by the way. Typically, I do the show on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But if you notice, I'm wearing an LSU polo shirt in honor of my daughter, who graduates, walks the stage on Friday. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll be heading over to Baton Rouge tomorrow morning. So I'll be driving out there. About 20 members of my family going out there. On her mom's side, a lot of family going over to Baton Rouge as well. So we're going to have a fun time out there. Looking forward to it all. Again, you can be part of the show if you want to leave us a comment or two or three. I'll be happy to read them. And David Otwater are already coming at us already, asking about Bill Belichick and Pop's future, because Bill Belichick, according to reports out there that came out yesterday, the Patriots might be willing to move on from their longtime coach, who is in his 70s, just like Pop, who has won several titles just like Pop, 6 titles compared to Pop's 5. It's interesting to see that development's going on right now in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And will that happen here in San Antonio, Texas? Only time will tell. Lots going on today. So what are we going to get into? Well, first of all, did you see that video of Draymond Green? He did it again. Just completely made a violent ass out of himself yesterday. And now the question is not, is he going to be suspended, but how long should Draymond Green be suspended for what he did last night, getting ejected from the game for a violent hit on Yousef Nurcic? And when is he going to learn? Is he ever going to learn? Is he going to get another suspension that's only 5 games? Because 5 games apparently didn't mean shit to him. Draymond Green, as David has mentioned on our YouTube stream, is a dirty player. He's probably the dirtiest player that we've seen in the NBA since Ron Artest, since Rasheed Wallace. I mean, I would say Grayson Allen can be just as dirty, but Grayson Allen is not as big and therefore not as dangerous. But we're going to be talking about Draymond Green. LeBron James is in town, back-to-back games here at the Frost Bank Center, taking on the Spurs. Spurs on a 17-game losing streak, on pace to win only 11 games. Currently with the second worst record in the NBA right now. I mean, at this point, should we just all wear paper bags to the Frost Bank Center? I mean, at this point, I'm getting to that. And at what point do we look at this and go, Pop, this is on you. Brian Wright, this is on you. And speaking of Pop, I posed this question on Twitter the other day. Did he break Jeremy Sochan? Because a couple of weeks ago, people were making me want to eat crow because they were like, hey, man, 33 points. He had a brilliant game. But what has he done since? And what did he do before? It's so weird how we take a look at certain players like Jeremy Sochan, who can light it up one night and then go 6 or 7 games without any production whatsoever. Spurs have also lost a player for the season in Charles Bassey. How are we feeling about that? I feel bad for the guy. He went out to Austin, played for the Austin Spurs, balled out for it, had a huge game, and then has a season-ending injury, so we'll get into that as well. Lots to get into today. If we want to talk pop culture, someone, I believe it was it Sith Lord? Who was it that on Twitter posing the question, choose your fighter between Salma Hayek versus Sofia Vergara. And that got us thinking of other Latina hotties as over the years, you know, whether it be Jessica Alba, Selena Gomez, whether it be Ana de Armas. We'll choose our fighter when it comes to it all, because I think it's an interesting topic. And then also I want to get into one of my favorite, I would say not one of my favorite actors, but Andre Braugher passed away. And he was a very accomplished actor that it was known for many, many roles. And he passed away. Most recently, he was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a comedy, but he was known for his dramatic acting over the years. And he was very well trained in Shakespearean theater, so much so that if you remember, his first role was the freed slave who joined the Union Army in the movie Glory. And I don't think people realize that that's the same guy. That the funny guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is the same guy who played this free slave in Glory. And what a great movie from the 1980s. I mean, that's a very, 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 very good movie. So R.I.P. To Andre Braugher. Lots to get into today. So again, if you want to be part of the show, reach out to us. Private Streamline is going on right now on our YouTube stream. Tim Gonzalez says, what good, Mike Jimenez? It's a movie and stay home night. Cold and rainy. Yeah, and right now my dogs, I can see my dogs right now. They are a muddy mess. And I let them out this morning because I was asleep. It was 6 a.m. and they wanted to go outside. So I let them out, not really realizing fully that it was raining. And now I have to deal with the fact that they're going to be a muddy mess coming in. I have new carpeting, so I don't want them in the carpet in the bedrooms, but I have tiled kitchen floors, tiled living room floors. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do with them. Maybe put them in their kennel until they dry off a little bit. But it is one of those days. I mean, it is a chicken soup. I shouldn't say chicken soup. It is a caldo type of day. Okay. I guess for some people, it might be a menudo type of day. It is just bone chilling. And right now in my house, it is 63 degrees and I'm wearing a short sleeve polo shirt and I'm wearing shorts right now because I like it cold. I like it cold. FuseWorks asking the question again, Mike. No, I did not. Are they asking the question, did I leave them in the rain? No, I have a big covered patio area. So they are dry right now. They are wet and muddy because they like to run and play. I mean, my husky is like 8 or 9 months old. I have a golden retriever that's about 3 years old. They are young dogs. They like to go out and play. So what they've been doing is been running up and down the grass, turning it into mud, and they're all muddied up. So no, they're not getting pelted with rain. If they're getting wet, it's by their own choosing. So my bad. We're going to go for about an hour and 15 minutes or so. Don't forget to share this with your friends and followers, whether it be sharing it on Facebook or sharing it on Twitter, letting people know that we do, in fact, exist. And in fact, we're making big plans for the year 2024. Could be a 5-day-a-week podcast. Maybe we'll change the time, whether it be 10:30, 12 o'clock, or whatever the case may be. We're trying to figure that out. So I know we're going to be talking about that. Locked on Spurs, Jeff Garcia reaching out and saying, bone chilling. This is still shorts weather for me. This is nothing versus living in New York City. Well, no kidding, man. No kidding. But also in New York City, they bitch and complain when it gets 88 degrees. And you know that. Over here, we get over 100 days in a row of 100-degree weather. We know what it's like when it's hot. But it is kind of just this really caldo type of day that got me thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch because I'm doing that intermittent fasting. So right now, my count, I'm trying to go 16 hours a day without eating, without any caloric intake, to kind of lose a little bit more weight, trying to be effing cute in 2024. And right now, it says, see if you can see that. It says that I have fasted so far 17 hours and 23 minutes. So I haven't eaten in 17 and a half hours. And by the time this show is over, I'm going to go order some food, probably get some caldo or something like that over at Tinka Taco right next door to me. I'll go 19 hours without eating, without any caloric intake. Raul, I do intermittent fasting. Dude, it works, man. It works. And I was talking to one of my clients the other day. He is really big into health. I mean, the guy is in his mid-50s, and the guy is in really good shape. And he talks about the importance about working out, but in trying to get into better shape, it's kind of a two-tier thing, right? It's about eating better, and it's about working out. And if you just work out but don't fix the eating, you're not going to lose weight. Or if you just fix the eating and you don't work out, you're not going to lose as much weight as you should have. So, yeah, I've been doing the intermittent fasting, and I've done it before. I was showing a friend yesterday some photos of me from 2 years ago when I was doing half marathon training, and I was doing the intermittent fasting and stuff like that. I was probably about 15 pounds less than what I am right now. I'm down 15 for the year. I want to lose another 15 or 20 more. I kind of hit a wall, so I restarted the intermittent fasting deal. And Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Kent's Five might have to take me back to that gym on the south side again because he kicked my ass too much, though. He kicked my ass too much over there because I was sore for like a week after working out with Jeff. Jeff killed me out there at the gym, but I had fun out there. But Jeff can outlift me, but I got a feeling I might be able to outrun him. My fat ass might be able to outrun him. Maybe not a 100-yard dash, but a mile and a half, 2 miles, 3 miles. Who you got? Choose your fighter, Jeff Garcia or Mike Jimenez when it comes to that. But let's get into some of these topics today. Draymond Green, holy shit. Did you see that freaking hit that he had on Yousef Nurcic yesterday? So that happened overnight. So a lot of people didn't watch it, went to bed, waking up, and you turn on SportsCenter, you turn on First Take and all of those shows, and they're talking all about it. And the thing about it is this. When he gets suspended today, because it's going to come down today, and as Jesus Rivera says, he should have swung on me. Well, why? Why? Tell me reasons why I need to be hit by Draymond Green. But Draymond Green has been ejected from 18 games in his career, has served multiple suspensions, was suspended last month for choking Rudy Gobert, suspended for 5 games, comes back for like 6, then does this crap. And there's several things that are not being discussed when it comes to all of this. Because I watched First Take this morning. I watched, SportsCenter, and I got to get their takes on it. But the one thing that they did not bring up was the fact that this was done right next to Golden State's bench. So this whole action took place right in front of the bench. He says hugged on and that he was trying to sell a foul, and he goes and does this full body, they call it a slap, but really it's a side punch on Nurcic. And if you see the reaction of his own teammates, of Draymond Green's teammates, go back and look at the video. Look at the video. The reaction of his own teammates says everything that you need to know about what's going on, about how wrong Draymond Green is. So when he gets suspended, it's going to be a lot of things going on. It's going to be the fact that he's been an offender of this many, many times. That's one part of it all. The second part of it is that he shows no remorse. The third thing is that he's giving lies as to get excuses as to what was going on and why he did what he did. And fourth, he's talked about in the past how you're not going to change him. So all these people who are trying to come out and be these Draymond Green apologists need to sit the fuck down. I'm tired of Draymond Green. Draymond Green needs to be suspended a minimum of 10 games. If it comes down single digits, then you know that the NBA commissioner has absolutely no balls. Now, his apologist, Draymond Green's apologist, coming out and saying, well, Ron Artest was suspended 7 games for elbowing somebody to the point where they had a concussion, and therefore the precedent's been set at 7 games. No, you can reset a precedent. Just because something bad happened or there was a bad decision made years ago doesn't mean that you have to fucking live by it for the rest of your life. That's not how life works, okay? You can actually course correct, and you can go tell the union to go screw themselves because public opinion is going to drive all this, and public opinion is tired of Draymond Green. They're tired of him. And to think about it, the fact that they lost an NBA Finals, the Golden State Warriors, because Draymond Green got ejected and got suspended because of it. The guy does not care about his teammates. And the funny thing is, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, but is he really a Hall of Fame talent? Would he have been a Hall of Famer if he didn't play with Steph Curry, if he didn't play with Klay Thompson, didn't play with Kevin Durant? If this guy played with Oklahoma City or the San Antonio Spurs or the Indiana Pacers or the Detroit Pistons and they were a 500 team or they were a first-round knockout, would he be a Hall of Famer? Please tell me how Draymond Green is a Hall of Famer because I don't see it. I don't see it. Is he somebody that would want on my team? Yes. Those talents, I would want that on my team. But is it really a Hall of Fame talent? I mean, Draymond Green's an excellent defender, but he's also a bad three-point shooter. He's an excellent defender, but he's also a good passer. He's basically a higher-end Boris Diaw, in my opinion. He wouldn't be the star that he is if he wasn't latched to Steph Curry, if he wasn't latched to Klay Thompson, which has me worried about when they say that Jeremy Sochan is kind of a Draymond Green type of player. Because, okay, show me the Steph Curry on the team. That means absolutely nothing. Jesus Rivera reaches out and says Draymond needs to have the Ja Morant type suspension. Ja Morant currently on a 25-game suspension. I think that would be the max that they would do. I think it's going to be somewhere between 10 and 15. But 25 comes down, the union's going to step in, and it's going to be a big old mess. But again, public opinion is on the side of the NBA doing something. Other comments coming in. Raul says Draymond is basically Ron Artest. The difference, though, is Ron Artest seemed to want to get better. Ron Artest knew that he had demons of some sort, psychological. He knew that he had some sort of issue going on mentally and tried getting help. He tried to get better. He would talk to the media about how wrong he was about certain things, the malice in the palace and all that stuff. And he would talk about where he was coming from. And it was easier to be sympathetic towards Ron Artest, Meta World Peace, whatever you want to call him. It was easier to sympathize with him because he kind of felt and said that he wanted to be better than what he actually was. Draymond Green shows no remorse and has come out and said that he will actually do these things again. And for him to come out and just simply say that it was an accident, he was trying to sell a play. He wasn't trying to sell shit. He was trying to get violent and hurt somebody. And there have been players that were like that over the years. I mean, you go back in time from Bill Laimbeer to Rick Mahorn. You had Horace Grant. You had Dennis Rodman, who was dirty. Robert Parrish was dirty. Karl Malone was dirty. There's a history of dirty players in the NBA. But it's just tiring. It's one thing for that to be the standard because that's not the standard anymore. And if you want to say that it's a throwback to the 80s and 90s, I mean, okay, that's fine. But it was being done by other players and other teams. I mean, you look at the bad boy Pistons of the late 80s, early 90s, that was kind of the style of play. And to be honest with you, that style of play lost ratings. So basically before Showtime Lakers, the ratings sucked. Then you had the Showtime Lakers, and then you had the Celtics, and then the ratings went crazy. And all of a sudden, the United States was falling in love with the NBA again. And then you had the bad boy Pistons, and people started getting pissed off about that because it was entertaining, yes, but it wasn't basketball either. So whenever I hear people say that they wanted to go back to the 80s and 90s. I don't want it going back to the 80s. I don't mind it going back to the 90s some in the sense that you allow defense. And I don't mind having a player have to earn their points. I remember back in the day, someone would drive into the lane, you check them, and you just look at them and go, earn them. Go to the free throw line, earn them. I don't mind that. But there's a difference between a hard hit, a hard foul, and being dirty. I'm all about hard fouls. Earn them. Go to the line. Earn them. And as Jesus Rivera reaches out and says, Draymond's defending skills have gone downhill. That's when you know that you're no longer wanted or needed anymore. So let's think about this. I have said that Greg Popovich is a jackass. And he is. I mean, maybe not to his own players, but to the media and things like that. He's a bit of a jackass. A lot of a jackass. We all know that. And it's easy to be okay with that when you're winning. Winning cures all. I mean, Jimmy Johnson said many, many years ago that there are rules for champions. There are rules for winners. And it's easy to kind of let Draymond be Draymond when they're winning title after title. when he is at the top of his game. But the guy is just a dude right now. He's not as good as he used to be. He's slightly above average, but he's not as good as he used to be. His shooting isn't as good as it used to be. His defense isn't as good as it used to be. So it's harder to kind of like go, well, let's just let Draymond be Draymond. Same thing goes with Pop. You know, Pop keeps winning, 50-win seasons. He could be a jackass to the media and everybody. You go on pace to win 11 games. You have no right to do anything. You go 5 years in a row without a winning record. You have no right anymore. I'm sorry, man. This is a what have you done for me lately type of society. 5 years is a long time, and we're showing no sign of having a winning record here in San Antonio. But let me ask you this about Draymond Green. Do you think maybe, just maybe, this was fostered by Golden State, that they allowed this to happen? Because I have a hard time believing that other teams would have allowed it. You know, and you take a look at Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr gets a pass for a lot of things, but he is so much like Pop. Steve Kerr the other day was complaining about the music being played in Phoenix, saying that it was too loud, that it sounded like a Miami dance party. And he was going on and on and on and on about that, and that how it shouldn't be that way at NBA games, and that's not the way that it should be. And he sounded so much like Pop. When did Steve Kerr get old? And when did Steve Kerr suddenly become the guy that is going to give a pass to Draymond Green? Not once, not twice, not three, not four, not five, not 6 or 7 times. He gives Draymond Green a pass forever. And I'm trying to figure out why. Why would he not want to rein in his own player, unless the fact that he's afraid of his own player? I mean, Draymond Green is somebody who punched Jordan Poole, his own teammate. And what did Golden State do? What did Steve Kerr do? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing of significance. He punched his own player. His own teammate. Did nothing. Drew Show with a $5 donation, man. Appreciate it, man. This is we appreciate all that you do for us, Drew. Says, with all due respect, you, me, and everybody hearing your voice would love for Draymond to be on this Spurs team. Now, next year, et cetera, trade Devin for him. Okay, well, I'm not going to trade Devin Green. Devin Green. Mix his name up with Danny Green. Devin Vassell for Draymond Green. Draymond Green is damaged goods. And what I have liked, that's a certain player that you want to have on your team. And the Spurs have had dirty players in the past. Bruce Bowen was a dirty player. Robert Horry was a dirty player. Spurs fans don't like to hear that because that's our own guy, but they were dirty players. But there's a difference between being a dirty play, doing a dirty play, and being a dirty player. It's two different things. A dirty player is wanting to hurt somebody, wanting to injure somebody. It's not so much they're jawing up with them and they're trying to square up with them a little bit or whatever the case may be, get under their skin. You know, like what Bruce Bowen would do was sometimes be dirty, putting his foot underneath the players as they're trying to land. But you take a look at like Robert Horry. Robert Horry was dirty from time to time. He was a rough player. Bruce Bowen was a rough player. He would grab onto you. He was more rough than he was dirty. A dirty player is somebody who's actually wanting to outright injure you and take away your livelihood. That's the difference. So I would want Draymond Green's skill set, but I would not want his mindset on this team. Not at all. Not at all. And it's not the whole Spurs way type of thing. It's just simply because the guy's an asshole. And I wouldn't want him on this team. And I don't mind a chip on the shoulder. I don't mind the wanting to hip check. I don't mind wanting to do hard fouls. But when you're punching people in the face and you're choking people, Rudy Gobert, you're choking him. And for him to have no remorse and for Nurcic to come out there and say, I'm just glad I didn't get choked, trying to make a joke about it. Drew comes out and says, with another donation, you capping saying you wouldn't take Draymond. Capping. I wouldn't take Draymond of 2023. 2015, maybe. 2023, he's washed up, dude. He's washed up. Let's talk about the other Draymond Green, because when Jeremy Sochan was first drafted by the Spurs, everyone kept saying, this guy is going to be the next Draymond Green. And I was like, really? Really? We're going to have that kind of player on our team? And everyone comes out and says, oh, he guards multiple positions. I was joking with Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5. Follow him at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Follow him. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Is it possible that the defensive abilities of Jeremy Sochan are a bit overstated, a bit overrated? Am I wrong in thinking that? Because I watch the games. I go to the games. I will be at the game tonight as the Spurs take on the LA Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, all in town. Back-to-back games for the Spurs against the Lakers at the Frost Bank Center. Jeremy Sochan's defense isn't good. I mean, it's not bad, but let's not say that he's a good defender who can guard multiple positions, because he can't. I mean, he'll do a decent job. Okay, let me paint this. Let's rephrase that. He can guard multiple positions, but he can't lock down multiple positions. Have you tried seeing Jeremy Sochan try to lock down a stud point guard? Can't do it. How about a bigger power forward? Can't do it. Doncic went to town on him. I mean, he's just a guy, man. He's just a guy. He's just a guy. And if you take a look at it, I asked the question on Twitter the other day, did Popovich break Jeremy Sochan? 5 games ago, Jeremy Sochan had the game of his life against the Atlanta Hawks. Remember, it was the game where he was called for a charge when he was trying to tie the game in the last seconds of the game. And Sochan, a lot of people were like, this is his coming out party, right? 33 points, 12 of 14 shooting, 8 rebounds, 6 assists in 36 minutes. He looked amazing. What has he done since? Averaging 31 minutes per game since. 13 points, 6 points, 4 points, and 7 points. The games before that 33-point game that he had, he scored 4 and 7. His rebounds, the last 4 games rather, since his big game, 3, 2, 3, and 6. So he's averaging 7.5 points and about 4 rebounds, and his assists have gone from 4, 0, 4, 2. He's averaging less than 3 rebounds per game since that big game he had against the Hawks. 31 minutes a game, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He's just a dude, man. He is just a guy. And that got me thinking into, okay, well, who should the Spurs keep in the future? Really, I think that they have to have a hard reset this year. And that includes Pop. That includes 2/3 of this team. Hard reset, just get rid of them. Spurs should keep, obviously, Victor Wembanyama. They should keep Devin Vassell, because even though his defense has gone down, effective shooting range of 56, 57%, it's really good. That's serviceable. Beyond that, City Sissoko, to see what he brings defensively and develop him. I mean, it might just be those 3 players. I don't care about Zach Collins. I don't care about Kelvin Johnson. I don't care about Trey Jones. I don't care about Jeremy Sochan. I don't care about Devontae Graham. I don't care about Doug McDermott. I don't care about Charles Bassey. I don't care about Mamu. I don't care about the rest of the team. Malachi Branham is somebody that I think could potentially take a leap. So maybe you keep him. I don't care about Blake Wesley. Hard reset, baby. Just get rid of these guys. They're not it. They're not it. I like Keldon Johnson if he's going to be the 7th man on the team. I like Jeremy Sochan if he's the 7th man on the team. I like, some of these players, if they're going to be role players in the second unit, perfectly fine. As Raul mentions, he says, I'd listen to an offer for Vassell. I think we might be able to get something pretty decent for him, actually. Comment coming in from STP11. Sochan is a bust, can't shoot, can't defend. Teams don't even guard his ass. So his three-point shooting has gone up, right? So if you take a look at it, it's Jeremy Sochan is the most confusing player of all time. I'm going to get out his most recent stats right now because we're far enough into the season to kind of know what he has done this year, right? Jeremy Sochan right now averages just under 11 points per game, 10.9, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, which again sounds great if he's the seventh man on the team, but if he's a starting point guard, not going to be the case. But I'm looking at his season totals. His three-point shooting has gone up exponentially from 24.6% up to 37%. Anything north of 36 is pretty good. Okay, 40 is stellar, and he was kind of flirting with that for a while. He's back down to 37%. If you're north of 36, you're having a good year shooting the three. If you're between 32 and 36, you're serviceable. So that's a good thing. So you would think he'd be more efficient scoring-wise. How is it possible that Jeremy Sochan has gone from 24% to 37% in three-point shooting, and his effective field goal percentage has gone down from 48% to 47%? How is that mathematically possible? I don't know any other player in the NBA who could go up 13% with the volume of threes that he shoots and be a less effective shooter overall. And why is that? Because when it comes to two-point shooting, he's gone from 52% down to 44%. Two-point shooting, 52% down to 44%. Three-point shooting, 24% to 37%. You add it all together, his effective shooting is lower than what it was before, which means that if he shoots the ball 100 times, Jeremy Sochan would score 90 points. He shoots the ball 100 times, doesn't matter if it's twos or threes, 100 times, he scores 90 points. You might think to yourself, well, that's not bad, is it? I mean, that can be bad. Well, no. You need to be actually over 50% to be even on the court for the most part. So you shoot 100 times, you should make 100 points, okay? If you look at Devin Vassell, for example, Devin Vassell, his effective field goal percentage is close to 57%, which means that he shoots 100 times, he makes 114 points. You compare that to Sochan at 90. If you were to look up the most effective field goal shooting, the most efficient shooters in the NBA, Jeremy Sochan is probably in the bottom 10 to bottom 15 percentile, despite the fact that his three-point shooting has gone up from 24 to 37%. Is he a bust? Not going to go there yet, but it's trending that way. It really is. Dude, all these people reaching out wanting me to do shout outs. No. Okay, I know what you guys are doing, all right? I know what you guys are doing. Raul reaches out and says, even coming out of college, people were saying Sochan had no defense, had no offensive game. We had to draft him so high, right? Number 9, and then make him the starting point guard. Terrible. It makes no sense to me this year. It really doesn't. I was so optimistic about this year because we got Victor Wembanyama, and I thought to myself, they're going to at least be able to get him the ball. The dude's 7'4". They'll get him the ball. Did they? No, they're not. Jeremy Sochan has been more of a priority for Pop this year than Victor Wembanyama, and I don't get it. I don't understand why that is the case. But the proof is in the actions. Actions speak louder than words. The actions have been he cares more about Sochan than he does Wemby. And I don't get it. I absolutely do not understand. It's bizarre. And I was optimistic because I thought that Pop would actually field a winning roster. You know what the Spurs' best roster is, best lineup happens to be? It happens to be Trey Jones at point guard. It happens to be Devin Vassell at the 2, Sochan at 4, Keldon at 3, and Wemby at 5. Or a mixture of those 5 players. Put them in whatever position. Those 5 on the court, that's actually a pretty decent team. Now ask yourself the question, why doesn't Pop play that rotation? play that particular lineup? Why is that so rare that those 5 are on the court when it makes so much effing sense that those guys should be there together? Are the Spurs losing on purpose? Are they trying to tank again? Is that the whole process of what they're doing? Because if that's what they're doing a really good job of it. And then to see Pop go out there and smile after the games and just have no fire, and it's brutal. And the idea of Greg Popovich being the head coach of this team for 3 or 4 more seasons. Dude, imagine if he's on this team for 3 or 4 more seasons, they have losing seasons, and Wemby leaves, and then he retires. Pop would be just as hated as Kawhi Leonard. You stick around long enough, you become the villain, right? And Pop would be the villain at that point. I'll never understand it. Look at tankathon.com, by the way. As it stands right now, if things fell into place and there were no surprises in the lottery and things held to form, the Spurs would be picking at number 2 right behind the Detroit Pistons. And if you take a look at who the Spurs would get in further picks, right now slated to be the number 9 pick as well, because they get Toronto's pick as part of a trade they had a few years ago. Toronto right now is a top 6 protected pick. And if I was to go on Tankathon right now and simulate the lottery as a mock, if the Spurs were drafting number 2 and 9, according to Tankathon, they would get Isaiah Collier, stud point guard out of USC. Why would we get a point guard? I thought we already have one, right? Why would we get one? And at number 9, we'd get Justin Edwards out of Kentucky. But I'm going to simulate the lottery to see what would happen. And what it shows is the Spurs losing one of, actually, no, it shows the Spurs dropping 4 and 9. The Spurs would have 14% chance to be the number 1 overall pick. And it's interesting when you see these players because I've been scouting them already. Jeff Garcia from Ken's 5 knows that I do this. I like to scout, and I like to watch a lot of video, and I like to, YouTube games and all of that stuff beyond just the highlights. Some of the names that are interesting on there, Nikola Topic, who's a point guard, a 6'6" point guard, playing for a team called Mega Basket in Serbia. That guy looks good. I mean, he looks like he has genius level basketball IQ. And a 6'6" point guard, I would take that all day, every day. A true point guard, just 18 years old. And then there's a French player who's named Alexander Sarr, S-A-R-R, who's from France. And I've been watching his highlights as well, getting a little bit excited. He's supposed to be a top 5 pick. Alexander Sarr is a power forward / center at 7'1". Let's just go ahead and say it that I'm not the biggest fan anymore of Collins. So, Zach Collins is expendable to me. That might be somebody to pair up with a Victor Wembanyama. I mean, you'd have 2 French players down low, both over 7 feet tall. Wouldn't mind it at all. Raul reaches out and says, dude, Pop is killing his legacy, becoming more apparent. Tim Duncan carried Pop. Again, the news coming out of the Boston area about the fact that there are reports saying that Bill Belichick might likely be out as head coach of the Patriots, despite the fact that he has 6 rings. Even Belichick is fireable. National Sports Laughingstock, the Spurs right now, 15 seed, 17-game losing streak. Let's talk about an article that Jeff Garcia wrote on kens5.com yesterday, talking about the fact that you can actually bet on how long this losing streak is going to be. And right now, the Vegas odds is at 22.5. And it's interesting because I was talking to Jeff about this because, I pride myself on kind of being the first to see something sometimes. And when the Spurs started losing, I remember telling Jeff on Locked On, I said, dude, this is going to be an epic losing streak. This might be a losing streak that goes 20 games. If the Spurs don't beat the Bulls, this is going 20. And we were going back and forth. And Jeff, good friend, man, he was like, nah. The Spurs will win one of these games. They'll beat the Rockets. They'll beat somebody, and the streak will be over. And I just kept on saying, no, this is getting to 20. Spurs right now at 17-game losing streak. Back-to-back home games against the Lakers. Lakers lost a heartbreaker yesterday to the Mavericks. Will the Spurs win one of those games? I don't think so. Then the Spurs have a home game against the Pelicans Sunday afternoon, 2:30 tip-off. Then the Spurs are on the road against the Bucks, on the road against the Bulls, on the road against the Mavericks, and then home against the Jazz. So the over-under is thinking that the Spurs are going to win their next game December 28th against the Blazers. Spurs would have gone 7 weeks at that point without winning a game. Spurs last won a game the first week of November, back on November 2nd against the Phoenix Suns. The Spurs were 3-2. 3-2. Alonzo reached out to us saying the Spurs draft Holland and Topic. Isn't that double dipping a little bit? I mean, I see where you're going with that. I'm just looking at like how they would fit in the rotation. I mean, unless the Spurs are getting rid of everybody, which I wouldn't mind if they got rid of most people. Ron Holland, small forward. So basically, you're saying that he would be replacing. He'd either replace Sochan or Keldon, and you'd have to move Wemby to the 5 spot to make that happen. STP11 saying just what the Spurs need: 2 19-year-old draft picks to add to a current trash young roster. Locked on Spurs, Jeff Garcia, did you say today's topic on Los? Who do you got, Jimenez? Well, let me take a look on that. I haven't been on Twitter much this morning. Let's see here. Locked on Spurs. Let's see here. Why does he have to make me go search for it? Locked on Spurs. Last stories that he posted was about Locked on Spurs question. Which Spurs point guard would you want back? DeJounte Murray or Derek White? That was actually pretty easy. I'd want Derek White back. I would want Derek White back in a heartbeat because the guy's a winner. The guy has a work ethic. He's not as physically talented as DeJounte Murray, but there's a humbleness about Derek White. It was time for him to go. So when they got rid of Derek White, I was actually very supportive of it because he belongs on a good team. And you see what he's doing with Boston. You see how he rides the ship and how loved he is in Boston. That is a guy, Derek White. If you told me that Derek White's going to be an NBA head coach one day, I would believe you. He has a basketball IQ that's so high. That is, he plays defense. He understands how to run an offense. He understands how to be humble on the court. I would want to have Derek White on this team. DeJounte Murray, as much as I enjoyed him on the team, wouldn't do it for me. Drew Show reaching out with another $5 donation, a mega post saying the Spurs can draft 100 top 10 picks and nothing will change. Keep pipe dreaming 2-0, Bear County. You are conditioned to it as Cowboy fans for no reason. Well, we're conditioned to it simply because we turned the number 1 overall pick in David Robinson into something and the number 1 overall pick in Tim Duncan into something. And if you take a look at what the Spurs did back in the run of 03, 05, 07, and 14, not necessarily 99. I mean, 99 was because, look at 99. Let's go back in time. The 99 roster had homegrown talent. We drafted Tim. We drafted Robinson. We drafted Sean Elliott. Avery Johnson was pretty much homegrown. You look at 03, we drafted Tony Parker. We drafted later on Manu Ginobili. And so the Spurs have a history of turning their draft picks into a championship team. The problem was that you had a Tim Duncan there, and Tim Duncan came polished into the NBA 4 years removed, 4 years after 4 years at Wake Forest. So it was a little bit different. Mike Baez saying that we should keep an eye out on another French forward. I'm going to try not to pronounce his name. This is Zachary Richard. This is the fun part, right? We're already giving up on the season, right? We're already giving up. And I'm really not going to have much hope in the Spurs until they get rid of Pop. I think he's part of the problem. I have a hard time believing that every other coach in the NBA would have lost 17 in a row with this roster. I think that there are other coaches out there that could have figured it out. Maybe not a winning record or anything like that, but could have figured out, stitched together 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 wins with the roster that we have right now. Jesus Rivera says that he would rather have DeJounte than Derek White. And he says easily DeJounte. I don't know about easily. SCP-11 says F the draft. Let's get the vets in here. I would love that. I would love that too. So I'm going to be at the Spurs game tonight. And for those of you who don't know, I am, when I had my radio show at San Antonio Sports Star, I would always tell people that that was not my job. That was my hobby. So being let go from San Antonio Sports Star was not like the end of my world or anything like that. It was my hobby. My day job is I'm in finance. So I work with people on the retirement and all that stuff. And one of my vendors reached out to me and said, "Hey, Jimenez, thank you so much for all your work with us. We would like to treat you to the Spurs game." So tonight I'm being treated. I'm like a pretty princess tonight. I am being treated on a date. No, it's not a date. It's just basically the company taking me out, and they're going to take me out to the Spurs game. They said they got me lower level seats. They said not courtside, but they're lower level. So I'll be out there with a couple of colleagues out there. And they're telling me to spare no expense when it comes to the pregame drinking. So I need to pick a bar to go to tonight. And I think I'm going to pick something somewhere in Southtown because as much as I want to say the Pearl, I don't like getting dressed up. Okay. I'm not Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5. I don't like getting dressed up all the time. I just want to wear a Spurs jersey. So I'm probably going to tell him that we're going to go someplace on Southtown. It's also rainy outside. It's going to be difficult getting in and out of downtown. So I'll pick a bar in Southtown and make it happen. So if you're at the game and see me, come and say hi. Recommendation coming in from Raul saying Bar America. Dude, I haven't been to Bar America in a long time. That place is, that's a fun spot, man. That is a very fun spot. I haven't been there in a long time. If I'm not mistaken, that was catty corner to Rosatios, right? Kind of go to, you'd go to my ex-wife, my first ex-wife, we would go to Rosatios all the time. And, she used to love to do the salsa dancing and all that stuff. And we'd go hang out over there and we'd make our way over to Bar America. And then